for this region?
No, the Nokia, we continue to make changes. Yeah. So what's changed from, for example, from last year to this year? So in 2011, we had 9 regions around the world. We've now consolidated into 4 regions around the world. 4. So we have the Americas, then we have Eurasia, which was Russia, Turkey, and then we've combined Eurasia together with Europe, and that'll be headquartered out of Finland. And then we also have we've combined India, the Middle East, and Africa. That'll be headquartered.
So formerly MEA is now combined with India as well.
We used to have MEA, Middle East, Africa, and India. Now we combine that, and that'll be headquartered out of Dubai in the Middle East. Okay. And then here in Asia, we had Greater China, and we had Southeast Asia Pacific. We've now combined that into APAC.
Including Australia and New Zealand?
Yes, including Australia and New Zealand. That'll be headquartered out of Beijing.
Okay.
So what it does is it allows us to get scale, so a lot of consolidation. The main focus of the changes was to put more resources closer to the customers. So what you're seeing is basically here in Malaysia, there's basically no change. So that we still have a local team here in Malaysia, we still have a local team in Singapore, we still have a local team in Indonesia, Vietnam. So no change in that sense. This is more about putting the regional headquarters in Beijing, and what they're providing is direction and strategy, some oversight, but the real sort of engagement execution remains in the country. So our plan is to put more and more resources, quality, caliber, all our top talent as close to the consumer as possible.
Including all the developers, like for example last year, previously, for this region, it was led by Singapore team, for the Nokia developer team, right? And at the moment, how is it?
And that's very similar. So if you look at, we had Greater China, and we had Southeast Asia Pacific separate. Now we've combined into APAC. But what we've done is we have now 6 area teams. So the area that I'm responsible for is Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia. So in that sense, there's no change. So we continue to have a developer focus here. We continue to have a developer focus in Singapore, and indeed in Indonesia. And those teams are also supporting each other. So the head of Southeast Asia Pacific for the developer ecosystem, a gentleman by the name of Jonathan McCall, who is based in Singapore previously, still based in Singapore, still responsible for developer ecosystem development. No change in that sense.
So in terms of the structural changes, like for example, previously it was GM, Blasta was the GM for Malaysia, for Brunei. Right?
Yes, that's true.
So at the moment,
that's true. So I'm essentially the GM for Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Singapore. So that's my role. I also have a responsibility as the area head, which then includes Indonesia. So I have a GM in Indonesia. But here, for example, we have Anthony Wilson, who is the head of marketing for the area. He's based here in KL because Malaysia is such an important market for us. Then I also have a head of sales who looks after Singapore and Malaysia and Brunei. So I think you'll find when you talk to developers, you talk to the media, you talk to our operator customers, our retail customers, they're not seeing any change. If anything, we're bolstering our focus to bring more resources closer to the consumer.
Previously, you were responsible for the Australian and New Zealand market.
Yes, right. Well, I had Southeast Asia Pacific.
Okay.
Yes.
So, but now your responsibility is towards these 3 key markets like Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore.
That's correct.
So, in your opinion, how's the challenges, the progress in determining the new market? I mean, in these 3 countries, because definitely it's going to be different than what you did before.
I think what the difference it brings for me and for the organization, it allows a lot more focus. As you can imagine, in a territory the size of, from Bangladesh to New Zealand and everything in between, the execution there becomes challenging because it's so big. So we've broken it up into 6 areas now, brings a lot more focus. So somebody like myself can spend a lot more time with you here in Malaysia. I can spend a lot more time in Singapore and a lot more time in Indonesia. And if you look at the growth in the mobile industry, as I mentioned earlier, the exponential growth in smartphones, it needs focus. So we need to be able to put resources closer to consumers. For myself, I spent a lot of time traveling in my old role. Nowadays, I can spend a lot more time here with our customers.
You mentioned about smartphones, right? So, like in Singapore, the market is concentrated on higher end of the smartphone area, right? So now, like, if I can say,
sure.
In Malaysia, the market is kind of different.
Yes.
Where smartphone is considered as there are a few types of smartphones,
Sure.
on the higher end, the middle end, and the lower end.
Yes.
And also you have your normal phones,
Mobile phones.
feature phones,
Feature
mobile
phones,
phones,
yes.
S40 devices. So
Yes.
how you are going to differentiate these markets in Malaysia, and right now with your strategy using Windows Phone
Yes.
to replace Symbian,
Yes.
how's the execution going to be in this Malaysia?
So as you rightly said, in some markets, Western markets, Singapore, a little bit the same. In Australia, there are subsidies in play as well, which to some extent makes smartphones more affordable in a sense. You still pay over time, but the upfront cost typically is borne by the operator if they're providing a subsidy. Markets like Malaysia, that's not necessarily the case. So we understand that in order for us to serve, all Malaysians across all affordability brackets, we need to have not only just smartphones, but we also need to provide feature phones. And that doesn't mean to say consumers in the lower price points don't want the same things. Of course they do. They want to be able to access their Facebook and browse the internet and listen to music and take great photographs and share them with their friends. And we believe with the mobile phones we can scale and bring those kind of features to lower price points. So if you look at the recent, for example, the ASRI range we just announced, there we're bringing some fantastic innovation at really, really low price points, because we recognize that although people may aspire to own a smartphone, not everybody can afford a smartphone or willing to make that personal sacrifice, from a financial perspective. So, for us, there's no compromise. So you'll find our smartphones, you're correct, in the higher price points, focusing very much on the Windows Phone platform as we've already announced. But that's not to say we won't continue to support a full breadth of portfolio, top to bottom, and bring, a lot of the rich features you'd expect from a smartphone also in our feature phones.
So talking about the execution on the spreading Windows Phone more.
Yes.
All right. So what kind of marketing strategy that you guys have in the future? Like for example, now you are competing with Android, you are competing with iPhones, and the awareness of the market itself in Malaysia now is low on Windows Phone. So what kind of marketing promotion that we can expect from you guys?
And it takes time. I mean, the event today, for example, builds great awareness. Me speaking to you, creates awareness. You're going to blog, people are going to read it on the internet. So we recognize this is a journey. Nokia invests its own money, of course, when we do partnerships working with the operators. The operators are looking for balance as well. So they're also eager to see, the ecosystem, the Windows Phone ecosystem also, doing well in the market. So we have cooperative agreements with the operators around the world. They invest in the platform as well. We're working with the bloggers, we're working with developers, we're working with brands to bring applications to the phone. So whether you're working with, a Rovio or whoever, those sort of brands, also a lot of the big corporate brands who want to have applications working on our devices.
Do you have the local brands already for Windows Phone that has been launched?
We can definitely discuss with Hayes on the local team, but yes, we have local applications available today. And I think the really exciting thing about today was that when we bring Lumia, we didn't just launch Lumia everywhere at the same time in the world and just put the device on the shelf. We wanted to make sure that the experience for the consumer was nothing short of perfect. And that's why today when we announced Windows Phone coming, Lumia, the 710 and the 800, simultaneously we announced Marketplace. Because that experience needs to be there.
So all major operators in Malaysia are tied with Marketplace?
Yes.
That's the strength.
Well, all operators are supporting the platform. We had Maxis here today, we had Cellcom here today, we had Digi here today, and very good collaboration, and we're very pleased with the support that we have to date. And I'm confident that we'll continue to see that support in the future.